We were supposed to come back to Canada, but the war started. In fact, you know, my mother had the tickets to come back to Canada on the boat, and then my grandmother got sick, so she said, well, go on the next boat. And the boats didn't sail every day, once a month. So she postponed our return twice. And the third time, the boat did not sail. So that's how we ended up in Japan. Once we were in Japan, and you have to remember, the war just started. And we lived in Kobe, decided to live in Kobe. So I went and I was 7 years old, so I would be same age as grade 1 in Japan. Then I had to go to a Japanese school. So I joined school, Fukuzumi Shogakko in Kobe. And obviously I looked different. I had a sweater, a nice sweater with a zipper, you know, in front, and there was a nice design on my sleeves and my collar. But everybody, because when the war started, everybody had to wear, all the students, the pupils, had to wear kokuminfuku. Kokuminfuku is a khaki-colored, and everybody had to wear the kokuminfuku. My mother did not know this. So she dressed me up, and I wore long pants, because, you know, you had to look your best, you know. So, of course, when I went to school the first day, everybody looked at me, and even the teachers looked at me, you know, very differently, you know, what is this? And I guess some of them, or the teachers, knew that, you know, we came back from Canada. Anyhow, I was called, in those days, they didn't use the word gaijin. They used the word seiyojin, Westerner. So, you know, the kids would kind of come to me and, are you seiyojin? Omae seiyojin ka? And I didn't know what a seiyojin, I didn't speak Japanese. I spoke some, but very little. And sometimes I didn't know what they were saying, and other times, but I knew some of them were making fun at me, some of them were just curious. And when I wore this sweater with a zipper on, and you have to know that Japan did not have any zippers in 1940. So the class bully would come to me, and I'd stand in front of him, and he would up and down zipper. And sometimes at the very bottom it would come apart, and he would say, you know, put it back, hamero, hamero. So I would put it back, and then he would go up and down, and I'm standing in front of him. So there's that kind of, you know, so the impressions are very, very strong, but I guess you might call them unique. And I wasn't bitter about it. It's just that, you know, I was not one of them. The other thing is, once the war started, nobody in Japan was to speak any kind of English. All the English words were supposed to be eliminated. So, you know, for instance, baseball was very popular in Japan, but you could not say safe or out or strike or, you know, foul or, you know. They had the Japanese word for it. So you're not supposed to speak English. So anyway, when I went home, I guess I had a friend. I don't know what he was. I guess he was a friend. But anyway, and I said, and he came home with me, and I said, Mama, oyatsu kudasai, or chodai, or whatever. Well, the next day, or the day, a few days after, the school teacher calls me, and I'm in the teacher's room, and he says, you're not supposed to speak English. And I didn't know what he was saying, what he was talking about. I didn't understand Japanese that well, but I didn't speak English to anybody because they didn't. Well, it turns out that my friend, he was my friend, When I said mama, that was English. And I wasn't supposed to say mama. So the school teacher said, "You're still speaking English." And I said, I don't know, you know. And he said, "Mama you're not supposed to say mama." So when I went home and I told my mother, I said, "This teacher told me not to say mama anymore. So what am I supposed to call you?" So my mother, I don't know what she was thinking. She said, "I guess you have to call me Oka-san." So and it was very strange, you know, because you've always called your mother mama, and one day you said, you know, call her Oka. So that kind of experience, yeah. And there are many experiences like that. You know, this is just grade 1, but because I wasn't wearing the uniform, the kokuminfuku, the principal, every morning, the whole school gathers in the school grounds, and there's some words or lectures from the principal every morning at, you know, before the class starts. So he called me, or he actually got his teacher to bring me to the front and stand in front of the whole school. And he said, "The people in America are wearing this kind of female clothes, you know, with a bright design, and that's why they will lose the war." So, and I didn't know what he was talking about, but I was, you know, I wasn't, yeah, I guess I was embarrassed, you know, and I really didn't know why I had to be in, but anyway, I have, of course, no control over that. So I had that kind of impression. I think I was always active. So even when I first went to the school in Japan, you know, I'm in grade 1, you know, 7 years old. Probably in 6 months' time, I was certainly one of them. I remember, you know, one day I went home and I asked my mother to get me a kokuminfuku, you know, because everybody is wearing a kokuminfuku. And once I wore a kokuminfuku, felt I was like everybody else. And I had, and I think, in fact, one time the teacher, not the teacher, somebody, either the students, you know, you're an American, or you're Seiyojin, so you should know how to write a picture of Roosevelt and Churchill. So draw it. So I had, so I draw two, and I knew that Churchill had a big round face, and I knew that Roosevelt had a square face. So I kind of drew, I'm not sure what I drew, but I drew pictures of two faces. And then they said, oh, they showed that in front of the class, and this is the American Roosevelt, this is the Eikoku no Yaro Churchill, and they put that on the wall, and they started throwing darts or throwing something. And it was very strange for me, because I felt I did something wrong. I don't know that I knew the reason why, but, you know, I was told to, you know, you write a picture of Roosevelt or write a picture of American or whatever it was. So there's that kind of experience, but I did that, and I didn't have any animosity, you know, and I think I was trying to become one of them, and I think I did become one of them, because yeah, and my friends used to come to the house, and they were very interested. They wanted to come to the house because my mother was a good cook, and she always baked, you know, cake and cookies, and they were so impressed with the cookies. They would say, can I come to your house today? Because I knew they wanted to, get a cookie or something. So and so I, after 6 months or a year, I was one of them, and I think I didn't have any deep thoughts, but I think I was quite happy to become one of them, to be accepted. I didn't realize then, only after I grew up. Well, I guess that's when I started to realize, well, I am a Japanese because I'm one of them. But I didn't have, of course, enough knowledge about Japan, Canada, or Japan and the United States. I knew they were at war, but beyond that, I had no idea, of what implications there was going to be. But I was quite happy to be one of them, in school. So, and quite content, and so I took part in everything. And they had a little, as we got friendly, or as they accepted me. I'm not sure, but there was a little respect for me, or recognition that I'm not the normal Japanese child, that I knew English or something, and but I think I was very content to be one of them. And later on, I was to realize, well, that's what I had to be. I wanted to be, because otherwise you're on the outside, And I didn't want it. I don't think I wanted to be a seiyojin, or to be called a seiyojin, even though I did not know what it really meant. But